Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for being with us today. Um, First, I'm going to talk a little bit about what is Education USA and how you can reach out to us if you have any question or you need guidance on your process to for applying to U.S. universities. I'm Francisco Cuesta. I'm one of the 14 advisors that Education USA in Colombia um, has. So what is Education USA? Education USA is a network of advising centers. What we do is help and guide students throughout the process to study in the United States. If they want to study an English course, a short-term program, or a bachelor, if you want to get your bachelor degrees or master or doctorates, we are that source of information for you to don't be like kind of confused of how navigate this process. Um, Today, we have John from Sonoma State University, Mifi and Shad from San Diego State University. They are going to talk a little bit about how the California state system works. It's a little bit different of the other states, so it will be really great and important for you to know about this. Remember that this video will be allowed. You can see the record in Facebook if you want to check later on. So, okay, the floor is yours, John, Mifi, and Chad. I'm welcome. Thank you very much for being here.
Great. Well, thanks, Francisco. Hi, everybody. I'm John Green from Sonoma State University, and me and my colleagues are going to go through some information about our incredible California State University system. And before I start that, I'd like to introduce and let my colleagues introduce themselves, starting off with Miffy.
Hi everyone, my name is Mifi Yuan and I work at San Diego State University for international recruiting and marketing. And I am very glad to be here to talk about the CSU system to you.
Hi, everybody. If you can see me, my name is Chad Shemp. I'm the Director of Recruitment, International Programs at San Diego State. And so I'll give you a little information more specific to San Diego State, which is a bigger school as opposed to John's, which gives you a kind of a smaller option, which is great why we're doing this together because you can kind of see all the different possibilities within the CSU system. So look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, thanks. And so I'm going to start off going through some of these points here on this agenda, and there'll be different slides for each. And maybe at the end, if there is time and you have questions, I'm working with Francisco, either you'll be able to chat them to us or maybe it'll be live questions. So in the end, if you have some questions, feel free to save them up and ask them at the end. So let's kind of start off. The California State University system is the nation's largest most diverse public university system in the United States. There are 23 campuses, almost 500,000 students, including international students that are in there, over 50,000 staff and faculty to support the students, and a very large budget. It is a very large employer in the state of California. And I think 1 in 10 people that live in California have gotten their degrees from California State University. So we're very happy to be working there, and we hope that you have heard about our California State University system or know friends and family that maybe have studied here. And so here's a breakdown of what the locations look like of our 23 campuses. As you can see in the yellow, it starts at the bottom of California, and those 23 campuses go up near the coast and then inland all the way up to Northern California, up next to the Oregon border, which is Humboldt State University. You can see the oldest one is San Jose State University. That one is in Silicon Valley, in the heart of that area, and many of those students go to all those big tech companies there. And then we have Channel Islands, which is a newer one down by the LA area. The size of the campuses range dramatically from Cal Maritime, which is a CSU that focuses on the development of people that want to be in the ocean industry, sailing, being captains of large ships, and there's a lot of military that go there, up to CSU Fullerton, which is a huge campus in Southern California. And so giving you a perspective of what that looks like in terms of in Columbia, you can see how the state of California fits into the map there. So lengthwise, you know, we're a little bit close, but California or Colombia is a much larger country in mass. And to give you some perspective, at least in California, if you drove from, say, Humboldt down to San Diego in one day, it would take you about 12 hours to drive. And if the traffic is bad, it'd probably take you 20. So we're going to go through some quick pictures. Here are all the logos of all the different California state universities, and maybe you have seen some of these logos before if you've gone to fairs in your country and seen U.S. colleges and universities show up at these international student fairs, or went to the Education USA office and saw some flyers of these locations. You might have seen these before. We can quick buzz through all the different pictures of the campuses, and since this will be recorded, you might be able to check this out later or go to these sites directly. So there's San Diego State University. Then right up the coast, this is going from Southern California to Northern California. We have San Marcos University, one of the newer campuses as well. Then we get to Cal State Fullerton, the Titans there. And then we get to CSU Long Beach, one of the bigger campuses down by Long Beach in the LA County area. And then we get to, that is CSU Dominguez Hills. We get to Cal State LA, Cal State Los Angeles. Then there's also Cal State San Bernardino, which is more on the eastern side. Then we get to CSU Northridge, Cal State Northridge. And then Cal State Pomona, one of the technical CSUs. There's Cal State Pomona, or Cal Poly Pomona. And then there's Channel Islands, that newer one we mentioned. And then there's also Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, which is a well received and ranked engineering and science that's on the coast a little bit above LA area in Central California. And then there's Cal State Bakersfield right across the Grapevine. So you're in LA, you go up over the big hills, the Grapevine on Highway 5, and on the other side you see Bakersfield. Next is Cal State's, or Fresno State University, or California State University Fresno. Beautiful campus there on the eastern side in Central California. Then we see Cal State Stanislaus, another one on the eastern side, a little bit north of Fresno State. And then we get to CSU Monterey Bay, Cal State Monterey Bay, which is a little bit north of San Luis Obispo, below San Francisco. And that's one of the campuses that's growing and has lots of international students and international programs. And then the big one, San Jose State University. Then get up to Cal State East Bay. These are California State universities that are located in the San Francisco Bay Area. Then goes Cal Maritime, the one that I mentioned before. They have their own ship that they teach their students on. And then we get to San Francisco State University, which is in the heart of San Francisco. They have a large population of students and many diverse, lots of diversity in terms of international students that attend there. Then there's my campus, California State University. That's the aerial campus. We're up in the North Bay, which is north of San Francisco in wine country. And then we go to Sacramento State University, and Sacramento is the capital of California, and they have a great campus there. And finally, Chico State University, which is a little bit north of my school of Sonoma State. And Chico State is another great large university, but not as large as Sonoma State, and they have a lot of good technical programs, agriculture programs. And finally, ending up in Humboldt State, up by the Oregon border, and they have wonderful programs up there, marine biology programs, a lot of environmental science programs. And so that's a quick picture of the campuses. Here's the breakdown of enrollments that I've been talking about, and you can see just the diversity in the number of students that go to these campuses. And you can see the highlighted ones to see how different between San Diego State is and what Sonoma State is. And so that should give you a nice perspective of what California State University system looks like. It's, again, the most diverse public university system in the United States, and going by what you see there, you can pretty much see the differences that are in 23 campuses. Breaking down by the enrollment levels, you can see that we have lots of undergraduate students on our campuses. And so there's a California State, which mostly is like a teaching public university where there's tenured professors teaching you classes. And then there's a UC system, which is like UCLA, UC Berkeley, or UC San Diego. And that's the UC system, which is composed of 10 universities, and that's more of a research university. And so the teaching structure is a little bit different. They might have more TAs and research assistants teaching you as opposed to at the CSU level where you're getting taught by tenured professors. Breaking down visas, and so this gives you a breakdown of what it looks like for international students that are on campus. And so we've gone down a little bit. That you can see from 2018, we're at about 18,000 international students spread around all our campuses. And the bigger ones obviously have more international students. But we have a solid international programs to support our international students, whether they're students that go directly into academic programs or students that need English support. We have intensive English language programs, we have semester at programs, and special short-term programs. And so everything to kind of support international students that want to come study in California. Breaking down top countries, and these are ones that I pulled from South America, and you can see the top countries, except for Mexico's on there, and this is in Latin America as well, and Central America. And you can see Colombia is number 3 in terms of international students on campus. You know, the larger ones, Mexico's obvious because it's on the border of California. Brazil has a large population, many students that come from language programs, and then Colombia up there. And actually, you can see that Colombia is one that has increased in the number of international students from 2018 to 2019. So we're very proud of that aspect of this partnership that we have with the country of Colombia. And again, all this information will be available to you later. And there's actually a site on the California State University system where you can even drill down further and see the regions and the cities in Colombia where these students are coming from. But this is kind of a high-level breakdown of that. Cal State Apply. So the California State University has its own online application. You might have heard of the Common App, and then there's paper applications. For the California State University system, we have an online application that all international students and domestic students have to use to go to any one of the 23 campuses. And so simply you'd be going on this site, creating a demographic profile of yourself, and then selecting the universities that you would want to send an application to. So you complete one application, select the university that you want that to go to, and then you have to pay $70 for each application, and that would go to the university that you selected. And I just want to go through quickly kind of what the look and feel of the application looks like, so you kind of are ready to expect once you get on the application. And below you see the www.calstate.edu/apply, and that will get you to that site. And right now the application is open only for spring 2021. The application that will come for fall 2021, which is the next fall, opens up on October 1st and continues through either April 30th or March 30th, depending upon your school. This is the intro page, and you can see after you get to the intro page, you're going to have to complete your personal information like I talked about. And this site, what it's going to do is it allows you to not have to complete it all in one time. You can log in as many times as you want. It takes 3 to 4 hours to complete it, depending upon how much information you put in terms of transcripts and stuff. But these pages that you see here will track your progress through the different sections. And the biggest one for you guys is going to be that academic history where you have to put down your actual transcript information. So once you get onto the site, you can see the information that's specific to international students. So you'd be able to select the international student application, and gives you information about English proficiency and the options there. Just because if you're filling out this application doesn't mean you're applying to an intensive English program or an ESL program. Those applications are separate at all the CSUs. This is just to apply for an academic program. You'd be able to select the different campuses like I mentioned. You'll be able to go in and see the dates for the application deadlines. And so all this information you can look at before you really get in and start completing your application. There's also a checklist that you'd be able to print out. It's not an online checklist, so you print this out and you check the boxes as you go along and go through the application. But it also is already being checked for you on the actual application checklist when I mentioned those sector boxes. And so you can see this is where you'd be selecting the international application to make sure you have the right one. And the questions differ between, say, a freshman application and the international application. So make sure you select the international application if you are an international student that will need an F1 visa to study in the United States. If you're a permanent resident or a U.S. citizen living in Colombia, you would not be selecting the international application. International. This will break down what type of student you're going to be, either as an undergraduate or graduate student. And you can see when you select the undergraduate, it's going to let you know what type of student you are. If you're that first one, graduating high school senior, that's considered a first-time freshman. The second box, you see if you went to a California community colleges, which we have many international students that transfer from a community college to one of the California state universities because we have special transfer pathways for that. Then you have that third one where if you are at a different college outside of the California community college system, anywhere in the United States, or if you're at a foreign institution and you'd be submitting your transcripts to us, you would be selecting that button as an undergraduate transfer. And then seeking a second bachelor's degree. And then if you did select that graduate button, there's less selections there, but this is a button you have to make sure that best describes your situation when you're applying as an international student. And then once you do that, you start completing your profile, you fill out all your demographic information, your address information, and you start the application. You start selecting where you want your application sent to. You pick the academic programs. Remember, this program is going to be based upon if you're an undergraduate, if you're a transfer student, or if you're a graduate credential student. So all that information is going to be presented to you, and you select that. And you can see on there, it says applications ready for submission and the total fee. So it's going to track the applications for the institutions that you're sending in. Then you have another selection here. So say that you're working for an agency or an agent partner. Most of the California state universities work with agents. And so on this page, whether it's you completing it or you with the assistance of your agent partner or a third party, you'd be able to put their information on there so we can track who was assisting you with that application. And in the end, that might be important if there is some sort of relationship we have with that agent. Again, here's that part where it's showing you're tracking your information. You can see those green bars that are moving forward as you complete the different quadrants. This is the biggest part that I mentioned in the beginning where you're putting down your academic history. You're putting down the classes that you took in high school or in the coursework that you took in high school. And it's important to get this information on there. But I can tell you that you complete this portion until it shows that you have completed enough of the requirement to move forward. Because in the end, you will have to submit to us official paper transcripts. These, that you have to send into the mail. So even though you're going through this work and putting your academic transcript history on here, we are going to be looking at your official transcripts that you will send to us after you complete the application. And so that's a very important thing to remember, that you will still have to send us your paper transcripts. Then once your application is done, you're going to get a notification from Cal State Apply. Hey, you submitted your applications to these different institutions, to Sonoma State, to San Diego State. And that will be pretty much the end of tracking this application and the status of that. Because the next thing that's going to happen is that CSU that you applied to is going to send you a welcome saying, we received your California State University Cal State Apply application. Thank you for the submission. Here's your Sonoma State, for instance, your Sonoma State ID. Here's your Sonoma State email address. Here is your Sonoma State portal called My SSU, which you would go on to check that you complete all the requirements for admission, like sending your transcripts and any other documentation like financial sources. This would be the same for San Diego State University or for any of the other CSUs that you apply to. You would start working directly with that university instead of being on the Cal State Apply application. So it's like a handoff that happens from completing the application to now working with the CSU. Boom, checking your status, important. And then paying your fees. You have to pay for each one of those that you send the application to. At the end, you're going to have a PDF of the application that you completed that you can keep for your records. You're going to save it as a PDF, print it out, save that if you want to. And that's really the high level part of the CSU application system. There's always support from any of the CSUs once you show that you're interested in applying to the CSU. And now we're going to go with Miffy, and she's going to go more the CSU admissions requirements.
Thank you, John. So There's different ways for a student to get into one of the CSU university, and whether it's direct admission or conditional admission, I'm going to talk a little bit more about those details to you guys. So first of all, the direct admission, this way is for the student who wanted to directly admitted by the university for a degree program, whether it's undergraduate or a graduate or even a PhD degree program. So every campus, every 23 campus has its own admission requirements. And even within one university, different major may have different requirements. So it's very important for students to take a look at exactly what campus he or she wanted to apply, and then pay attention to the difference in terms of requirement. But in general, high school or university GPA, usually it's a minimum of 3.0 out of 4.0. English proficiency for all international students. If we use TOEFL as an example, usually it range from 61 to 80, depends on the campus and also depends on the program. SAT and ACT, it's great news for international students. It's not required for undergraduate study for international students. So that's something that they don't have to spend too much time and energy to prepare for that. In terms of graduate level, GMAT and GRE usually are required, and the score or the requirement are different by different majors. And also some supporting document. It's very typical for a graduate program to require statement of purpose or even recommendation letters or a portfolio for students to submit when they apply. Next. So some students, they are ready, but they don't have the English proficiency. And in this case, they can apply to one of the CSU campus through something we call conditional admission. Usually these students, their high school or university GPA already meets the requirement. However, their English is not there yet. So in order to keep studying English in their home country, they can actually apply conditional admission and then get into one of the campus, improve their English, get used to the university campus life, and then later on, when they are ready, matriculate to one of the campus. And again, SAT and ACT is not required. And GMAT or GRE depends on the major and campus. Usually those are required for a student when they are ready to matriculate to the graduate program on campus. We also have something called Pathway Program, and I think most of you may have heard this recently and getting more and more popular. So on top of learning and improving their English, some students already have a very good foundation of English and they already meet the GPA requirement. Therefore, they wanted to take some university level classes at the same time when they are improving their English. That's when Pathway Program comes into the picture. They can come here first, learn English, and then also take some university level classes when they are fully matriculated to a degree program. That means they already have some useful credits with them into the program, and that's really saving a lot of international students a lot of time, and obviously reduce their overall cost for study in the US as well. So, and then now I will give it back to John to talk about Sonoma State University to you.
I'm sorry, John, but we are not hearing you.
That usual mute. Sorry about that. Thanks, Francisco. So I was going to talk about Sonoma State University just because we are an example of a smaller California State University with a population that is below 10,000. And so basically you saw where we were. We're kind of in the middle of Northern California, right above San Francisco and wine country. And here's some pictures of what our campus looks like. And so you can see that we're a very green community. We have a very large campus, about 300 acres. So with 10,000 students, there's a lot of room. We have beautiful residence halls. Many have pools. The Princeton Guide ranked Sonoma State very high as the prettiest residence halls in the United States, and the residence halls are about 5 minutes away from campus, so it's a really nice walk to campus. This kind of breaks down, showing you how long it would take to get from downtown San Francisco all the way to Sonoma State University. Basically, you're taking this Highway 101, going over the Golden Gate Bridge through affluent Marin County and heading up into Sonoma County to Sonoma State University. And on the right there, you can kind of see the breakdown in enrollment. So you can see one of the smaller ones. So the students that we have on campus, international students, we usually have less than 100. We have a intensive English language program that we're going to talk about, and some little niche programs that we think that define Sonoma State University. We have the only wine business program in the United States, and so there's an undergraduate wine business administration. And then we have a wine MBA and executive wine MBA programs, and that is a picture of our new Wine Business Institute, just a beautiful building on campus. We also have the Green Music Center. This is an indoor-outdoor concert hall that you can see inside, and then during the summer, if it was not pandemic, we'd have huge concerts, 3,000 to 4,000 people, and different types of events. And so students that are music students at our campus get to participate and play in that beautiful facility. Moving along, we just talked about the different types of concentrations that are available between music. But in general, Sonoma State is a liberal studies university. It's a very strong business program, environmental studies, and then, like I said, an intensive English program to support international students. And those break down into a couple types. And a lot of CSUs kind of do this as well, is that they're going to have this university preparation program for students that want to either matriculate to Sonoma State University and need to meet their English requirements first. And then there's also programs for students that just want to come for a semester or maybe a short term. We work with high schools, we work with universities that want to send students to us to come experience Northern California, San Francisco, and wine country for a few weeks or a semester and then go back home. And so we love hosting those students as well. We have our Semester at Sonoma program, and that's for students that already meet English language requirements and just want to come study at Sonoma State University for a semester or a year and then go back to their home university. We find that some business schools, especially in France and Europe, that their students in the wine industry there want to come as business students and study in our wine program, in the business programs there, and then go back and get their degree from their home country. And that might be similar to some institutions in Colombia as well. And then last, we have our World Chat program. And right now, this is a free program where you could sign up and speak to us over a live online information session. It's just an English conversation program that we're offering for free for 4 parts, where you learn about Northern California, San Francisco, the geography, environment of Northern California, and famous universities like Berkeley and Davis and Stanford. We give all these little presentations on those institutions, and you have to speak directly with us in order to improve your English. And in the end, we give you a certificate and a gift for participation. So some of the fun things that we do at Sonoma State University, and all the CSUs really have different types of programs like this that are unique to their institutions. And you know, it can go from large institutions to small institutions, and I think you can find yourself a public university like this system where will be your fit and have the programs that you want. And now we're going to hand it off to Chad to talk about San Diego State University.
All right, everybody. So like we've kind of alluded to already, it's it's a perfect combination of presenting to you a smaller school in the CSU system, and then San Diego State would be on the bigger side. So I'll talk about the numbers later, but not only is it a bigger university, but it's a bigger city. In San Diego, you're talking about the 8th biggest city in the United States. So even though it's known as kind of a beachy, laid back, kind of relaxed sort of town, it's actually one of the biggest cities in the U.S. So you can see where it's located here on the map. We're 2 hours from Los Angeles, Hollywood, and we'll kind of talk about other places that we're nearby. But another thing with a big city and why we're doing this presentation to show you the diversity of CSU is with a big city, you'll see on the third bullet point, you get public transportation. We've got a trolley or a train system that can take you all around town from right to the university, all the way to downtown and to the airport and near the beaches and shopping centers, things like that. So if you don't want to get a car or things like that, the bus and transportation system might be important to you in a bigger city. Okay, so then on the next slide, we're going to see a little bit more about where, not only where, but like what would be contained in a big city. In San Diego, we've got 12 kilometers of beaches, so that's why a lot of students choose San Diego. We've got the best weather probably in the United States, data has shown. So we always joke we have 4 seasons. We have summer, 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 and summer. So if you like warm weather, it's a great city to come to. You're in class, you're out of class. It's all important. Like you're going to be living in that city for sometimes 4 years if you're doing an undergraduate degree. So it's important when you're looking at the CSU system to look at the city as well as the school. A couple other things on here, you can see San Diego has got a high safety ranking, friendly people. So all of those things really matter. This is a picture of our campus, and you can see all of the buildings are a white Spanish style building, palm trees and greenery everywhere. So it's a beautiful school to walk around. A lot of Hollywood movies have used our campus as the set where the movies actually are filmed. So you can imagine it's quite a nice place to walk around. And now on the next slide, a few more details about the university. I said it's big. By big, I mean about between 35 and 40,000 students, primarily American students. You can see here there's about 7 or 8% international students. So maybe let's say 3,000 international students, which is a lot. But when you think it's almost over 35,000 total, it really isn't a lot. There's a lot of diversity on a big campus like ours. You've got students actually from more than 100 different countries. So when you participate in things like clubs and sports teams, you not only get to meet American students, but you get to meet students from all over the world. I put a couple of things on here with rankings. I always talk about rankings when I'm recruiting around the world, and not because it's like the most important thing. I actually think it's just as important as you think it is, meaning you should really look into the school. What program do they have? What type of specialization of program do they have? Like basically, do they have what you really want to study? So don't get hung up on rankings. You can see our rankings there are quite good in the United States, but I don't feel like that's the most important thing when you're trying to select not only if it's a CSU school, but any school that you're going to be looking into. Really look into the specific subject that you want to study. On the next slide, it talks about outside of class, like campus life. So when you have a big university, you've got a lot of options of social things to do. You can see here we have over 300 student clubs and organizations. What that means is it's free for you to join. You get to make friends with American students quickly, easily, because sometimes the classes are bigger in a big university. So having a small club or a small sports team, like you can see in the third bullet point, you can join free sports teams, beginner, intermediate, advanced, where you're on a team with other American students, and you're just making friends. And a lot of times you go out to eat pizza or something after you're playing sports. So it's just a nice way to exercise, de-stress, and make friends. So that's kind of like the campus life in a nutshell. Programs we offer. So like Miffy said, all of the CSUs are going to differ. You're going to have, in our case, we have over 100 different programs, meaning subjects from, communications, psychology, business, engineering. Those are some like our most popular ones, but we have over 100 to choose from. So it really pays for you to do your homework. And by that, I mean, just research each of the schools and cities you're interested in, see what they have to offer. And honestly, you can go on websites of all these universities. You can email some of the faculty and the department advisors and just ask them about certain courses that you see in their online catalogs. It's a good way for you to get information that the school has exactly what you want to study. So in our case, you see here, we have undergraduate or bachelor's degree, graduate, master's degree, PhDs. We also have pathway programs, which Miffy talked about earlier, so I won't talk about too much, but just understand that with all the CSUs, you have options. If you can't directly get admitted into the university, maybe because of your English level, there's ways to get through a pathway program, and you can even take 1 or 2 classes on campus while you're practicing your English and getting it, improving it. And then you can matriculate or enter the main degree program after that. Let's see here. On the next slide, it kind of talks about other programs. So we've talked about degree programs. We've talked about pathway programs. If you want to just try a university for a short time, you can do a semester abroad. In our case, it's about 4.5 months. You come, you take 4 classes if you're an undergraduate, 3 classes if you're a graduate, and then you're, as you can see here, you're in a bigger class usually because of a big university with a lot of students. 90% of them are American students. So I mention that just because a lot of international students, they want the American college experience and they want to, that's why they're coming to the United States. So often a big school has a lot of options. We have sports events I'll talk about in a little bit, but just like the whole feeling on campus, you just kind of feel like, wow, this is what it is to be in like a big traditional American university. The intensive English program is if you just want a quick, short experience, it could be 4 weeks. A lot of students come in the summer in August, and it's on campus that you're actually studying English, but then you get to use the campus facilities as well. So that's nice. Summer programs, you can see here. We offer everything, we offer courses for degrees, meaning you can just take 1 or 2 courses. We offer a high school academy, which will be starting this summer, where it's called the Creative Minds Academy, where you select what you're kind of interested in studying, and you'll actually get credit for it. And you do a certain amount of instruction. You're doing activities in class, outside of class. You're living and staying in the dormitories on campus. So it gives you a little experience for like high school juniors and seniors, 11th grade, 12th grade, what it's like to be in American university. And it might motivate you to come to the U.S. after you graduate high school in your own country. So that's kind of like a summary of this slide here. It kind of talks more about what I just told you, the high school academy, but that's just one of many programs we offer. We're just trying to give you, obviously you can see a few examples. John told you about their wine program, and here's our high school academy. But the main point is, if you look into the CSUs, we've got all these universities that have really unique programs. So take the time to kind of go through each website and see if you can find something short-term or long-term that fits what you're interested in. So lastly, we try to keep this short to, give plenty of time for you to have question and answer, but I ended here just on a picture of our student center. It has a Starbucks, it has a bowling alley, it's got billiards, it's got all these fun things, couches and sofas where students can relax in the sun. And so it's a real inviting and relaxing place. It's a fun place for students to hang out, but it just kind of gives you like the feeling of what it would be like to be a student on our campus. You see here our email address if you have questions specifically about SDSU, but mostly I want to turn it back to Francisco and to whoever's kind of logged on to this for your questions. We've kind of done all the talking, but now it's time for you to ask questions. If you have questions about Sonoma State, about San Diego State, about the CSU system, now would be a good time to ask.
Okay, let's see if we have questions. If someone wants to kind of turn on their microphone, you can do it if you want to, okay? Or you can use the chat box if you have any question. In the meantime, Can you you tell us, Shad, John, and Mifi, tell us how everything is like kind of working right now with this COVID situation, and how students can like think on applying this year and how things will work more or less.
I can just kind of hop in on San Diego State. So for fall semester, we're doing, what's called a hybrid type of modality or format where the majority of classes are entirely online, but we're going to have what's been said around 200 or 300 classes taught in person or face to face. A lot of those are the research oriented classes and some of the performing arts classes where being in person is really important for the actual instruction and the learning. So that's what we're doing this fall. And I think, you'll hear from the CSU Chancellor's Office, who kind of speaks for all the 23 campuses later in fall semester what we're going to be doing for spring. But really, to be honest, it's, things are changing daily, and not only in San Diego and in Sonoma, but all around the world. So we're not going to be too quick to make decisions on spring semester. I think you'll hear about it at some point here during the fall semester, what our plan is. But really, we're just kind of, like everybody is, we're watching the news, we're paying attention to the CDC, like the health recommendations by the government, by the state of California. So we have to kind of take all those things into consideration before we say, this semester is going to be this mode of instruction or modality.
Right. I think for like our international students that are in the U.S., they have the ability to take classes online and 100% online and not worry about anything there. Students that were new that were going to be coming to Sonoma State in the fall, and that recommendation and the most likelihood is that they're staying in their home countries and then taking online classes. And so, like Chad said, that format is already in place. Whether or not we use that again for spring, we just have to wait and see how the pandemic plays out for the next a couple months. And then our chancellor's office kind of makes a decision for all the CSUs as to what their status is. And in some cases, that will maybe affect the IEP programs, if they have online classes or if they can allow students to come learn English on campus. It looks like Samuel sent an email about financial aid, a question about that. At least for Sonoma State, there is scholarships that are merit GPA-based scholarships that are for students that are entering academic programs. In terms of scholarships for our language programs or our short-term programs, there's nothing available for that. And so it does vary between CSUs whether they offer an international specific scholarship. We don't at Sonoma State offer that, but I know California State University East Bay does offer an international scholarship. And what does it offer at San Diego State? Miffy, what does it offer there? Do you know?
In so first of all, financial aid, it's actually like if we strictly understand financial aid, it's actually only for domestic students. That's because that's government funding. So that is not available for international students. However, in some graduate level programs, because they have fundings to do research, so oftentimes international students have the opportunities to apply for different kinds of funding or to work as a teaching assistant or research assistant. So that sort of opportunity, it's kind of look like a scholarship. But in general, California State University are a public university, so our tuition are actually, I don't want to say cheaper, but because there's a currency conversion there, but it's actually more cost effective compared to a lot of other schools, especially the private ones. So even though we don't offer a whole lot of scholarship, but the actual cost of the tuition, it's a lot less than a lot of other schools in the US as well.
I would just add to that, like one thing to look into whatever school you apply to is the opportunity to work on campus, because international students can work part-time 20 hours a week or less on campus, jobs only, not off campus. But that can pay you upwards of $1,000 US dollars a month, which could pay for your room and board, like your accommodation and your food, depending on the school. So it's usually easier jobs like in the library or the cafeterias or the dormitory check-in, things like that, like customer service, where it might be fun because you're meeting students also, but then you're getting money at the same time. So you just have to kind of look into those resources at the university you apply to.
I'm looking on the Facebook page and there's a live question from Albert. He is interested in English course, but he's 36. Is there any age limitation? You guys want to handle that one? Chad?
We don't. We welcome student, anybody age 18 or older. We actually used to have some students in their 40s, even they're 60, like they're retired and they wanted to, just explore the world and equip themselves with some English. So age is, it's not a problem in terms of learning. So it will be great if Albert or his friend would like to join us for a semester and learn English with us.
Yeah, I think in most cases, the student, has to be considered a full-time student in the English language program. So they have to take at least 20 hours a week of intensive English study. That's pretty much the same for any institution. And then you'd be eligible for an F1 visa. But there are also short-term programs that some programs offer that are less than that amount of time that might not require a visa, that you could come to visit the campus and learn about different programs as well as English. But yeah, age restriction, no, I've seen instances where, just like Miffy said, there's a nice large range of people that are coming to improve their English and experience living at a California State University.
And I would just say that, I think it was Albert, you said that aside from the class itself, I had it in my slide, but like San Diego State, just as an example, we have over 300 clubs and organizations. So even if you're in the intensive English language program only, you are free to join any on-campus clubs with the university students. And so your average university student age, especially graduate students, is going to be up there. And so it's not going to be, if you're thinking it's going to be a bunch of teenagers out of high school, that's not the case. And you can look into different clubs that has your similar interests. And I think you're going to find similar ages in those clubs as well.
Thank you very much. Another question, I guess it was John who mentioned that the transfer process from community colleges is a little bit different, or is special in California. Can you kind of explain us a little bit better how this transfer process work?
Sure. Who wants to start?
I guess I can, because I have firsthand experience. I was a student in a community college, and then I transferred to SDSU. Because so many students apply to CSU campus, and there's a system of requirement that whether it's international student or domestic student have to follow. If an international student is already in a community college, especially in California, the first thing I would highly recommend is to talk to their advisor in the college, because whether the student wanted to go to a CSU school or a UC school, all those advisor knows exactly what kind of classes they should take or what type of class and how to plan their classes. So the first thing I would highly recommend is to talk to them so that they can receive the correct information. And then second is to look at, for example, at SDSU, look at their requirements, and like in terms of if it's business, what is the GPA requirement, and then look at what is the major preparation class that they need to take in order to fulfill the requirement. So there's there are a little bit more complicated steps they have to go through, but definitely with the help of the advisor and the community college, and then also the admission officer in each of the campus, it should be very easy to navigate.
There is a website, a California Community College website. It's called www.assist.org. And that is a website that combines the California community colleges with the California State University system and the UC system. So students that are at a California community college or are looking at a California community college can go on that site, plug in the community college, and then plug the institution that they want to go to, and it will bring up the required courses needed for whatever degree that they want to get into. So it's a very useful website. But like Miffy says, going to the transfer center at the community college, that person will be able to do exactly the same thing that that website does, is say, here are the classes you need to take at a community college to get to San Diego State. Follow this pathway, and then in 2 years, you get 60 units at the community college. You can transfer to the California State University and save yourselves, $5,000-$10,000 in those 2 years. So it's definitely a very useful pathway, becoming more and more popular, Francisco. And I highly recommend that looking at that as an option if you're looking to try and save money, or say that you don't have a GPA that's high, that it doesn't allow you to get into a California State University. By going to community colleges and getting your grades, getting really good, strong grades, good GPA, that will allow you to get entry into that California State University or UC, because at that point, the UC or the California State University is going to look at your transcript from the community college. They're not going to look at your high school anymore. So you take away what you did in high school, you got your new start at the community college, you got a high GPA, you maybe be able to get into a CSU or a UC that you weren't able to get into straight out of high school.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
We have a question from Facebook, Fabian. Do I need to have previous research experience to apply to a research, I would say, career or master program or PhD?
Can you say that again, Francisco? Oh, should I
Sure.
read it?
Do I need to have
Oh.
previous research experience to apply to a research base, I would say a master or a PhD?
That depends. I can ask the master's part. They got PhDs at SDSU. For masters, it depends. Like our MBA programs, they usually need 2 years of business experience. A lot of times that might be specific to domestic students, or international students can get that waived. But like a master's in biology or a master's in public administration, some of the other masters that we have, there is no business or research requirement. You can go from your undergraduate straight into a master's program. Same with masters of computer science, for instance. We get a lot of students that are coming from their undergraduate going straight into our master's program. We even have a 4+1 program where undergraduates can get their MSc or master's computer science degree in 1 extra year. So that program. So what about at San Diego State?
Very similar, to be honest. Yeah, it's going to be case by case, like depending on the major or the subject that they're studying. So what they would want to do is go on the website, contact the department head or the faculty that they, in their specific, research area, and or the major that they're applying to, and just proactively ask them about what is needed in terms of experience. Because honestly, with over 100 different programs, it's going to vary by program. So there's really no one answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I would say like this will be the last question. Can you like give a message for those students, even if they're looking for a master or a PhD or even a bachelor's degree, for them to start with the process as an international students?
can you clarify that a little bit, Francisco?
Yes,
Do
can you
you
give
start
a
from the
message, like a welcome message or a recommendation or advice for those students who are starting their process as an international students, even if they're looking for a bachelor, a master, or a PhD?
Yeah. I think you kind of have to look at your end game, at least from my perspective. You're getting a master's or a PhD. That's more for research. Master's, you're looking probably to move yourself up in terms of employment opportunities. Look at like for the CSU system where they're located. If you're looking for something that's in high tech, you look for places that have degrees and programs as well as internships and connections with the companies in the industries. Down in San Diego, all the high techs down there, the industries down there in terms of Qualcomm, and you guys know that better than me, but then up in the North Bay area, Silicon Valley, all the pharmaceutical techs, they need business programs people, they need public administration people. So you got to kind of look at your end game and when you want to get into that work market, because after you get your degree here, for business and liberal studies, you have 1 year OPT, which allows you to work at a U.S. company for up to 1 year and get all that experience. If you're in a STEM program, you can do that for up to 3 years. And so that advantage is across any college or university in the United States, but especially with the CSU system and where we're located in all these regions in California that are the leaders of different types of industries that are around the world. I think we offer these really unique opportunities, and we have these departments that are going to help you find these internships, help you with OPT or CPT while you're in school. So I just think looking at that will help you set up really where you think is a good place for you to study.
There's almost nothing else to add to that because I completely agree. And that's very similar to what I was going to say. But it is true. I mean, if you are very pointed in what industry you want to be in, look at the city as well. Because John mentioned, like San Diego, we do have a lot of high-tech companies like Qualcomm's of the world. But if you go to a university website, like let's say our College of Business, they'll even have a section where it shows where the graduates of our program in business, what companies they've done internships in, where they're doing their OPT, where they've got hired, permanently. And so if you want to work in Sony and Apple and like Microsoft and like these big companies, if you look at the university and see that those students from that university and that program actually are now working in those companies, that gives you a good idea of where like John called the end game. Like if that's your goal, it lets you kind of show you where you can go with it.
Yep. I mean, here's the map that you can see where all our CSUs are located, and they're always somewhere around major hubs of a large city or some technology, or even on the coast where there's marine biology and those technical things, up by Chico State where the agriculture is so large, as well as Fresno and Stanislaus. And so depending upon what your interest is and the degree that you're going for, the CSUs have a program or an institution in those locations.
Okay, so we have reached the end of this presentation. Thank you very much to everyone for being here to participate. Remember that this virtual talk is going to be available for you to see later on